This is the United Kingdom of Britain, all of it, bolted together and floating in the sky.
Can we go out and see?
Of course we can, but first there's a thing.
A thing?
An important thing. In fact, thing one.
Pull to open.
Pull to open.
Yes, and what do you do?
What I always do, stay out of trouble. Battling.
Here! Come!
Hello and welcome to Pull to Open, an ongoing quest to watch all of Doctor Who, the entire television program, all of it in random order, occasionally with drums.
Sometimes not. Like that. Sometimes like that. Yes.
Oh, I forgot to say I'm Pete Paschal because I feared I would have had to take responsibility for that. But yes, I am Pete Paschal.
No, I'm Pete Paschal. You're Chris Taylor. And it was your idea. No, I am Chris Taylor. We're a couple of guys. We're a couple of Doctor Who fans, journalists, people who love the show, love to talk about the show, have written about the show. And apparently we're just getting even more epic in our Sound of Drums intros. So epic that we've gone beyond drums into the Murray Gold orchestras. Which is what we're going to have to include next time.
If no one's used Beyond Drums for a big finish title, you go, Nick Briggs. You could take that.
Yeah, Beyond the Drums would actually be a good sort of, how Missy regenerated. Anyway, yeah.
Digressions start fast and furious.
My God, the head cannon is just leaking out already. Anyway.
You're probably wondering how we got here, listener. Well, let me tell you. Previously on Pull to Open, we had to deal with some serious herbicide issue in Theory from the Deep. This was 4 episodes ago. It was a mighty beast made of plant life. Then we went to
the weed.
A few weeks ago, we did Time Flight with our special guest, Chris Burgess. Time Flight was great. This podcast was anyway.
Yes, it was. It was, we gained Professor Hater. He joined our TARDIS team in Time Flight, so love him.
And then a couple of weeks ago, we had the Runaway Bride, hot on the heels of The Power of the Doctor, which, of course, reintroduced David Tennant as the Doctor, which will also have Catherine Tate when she comes back next year. This was the first episode with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and it was a good time to revisit that. And then we were plunged all the way back to the first season of New Who into arguably its most epic episode in Dalek.
Yes. Our first Chris Eccleston, our Viscount Banger in our rating system. We loved Dalek so much. We loved it even more on a rewatch. But also weird connections. We always look at our randomizer connections, weird connections to Runaway Bride. It was the Doctor, being told by a companion not to commit genocide in both of these instances, not to wipe out the last of the species.
That's
so
true.
then where does the randomizer send us next?
Takes us to Series 5, Episode 2, The Beast Below.
Yes, to a story where the Doctor is persuaded by a companion not to genocide the last of the species.
Wow, you're just cutting right to the 5 questions. 4 questions.
The first question is so big.
Daily Show, circa 1998.
I'm just teasing we will get to that. We will get to the amazing randomizer connections between Dalek and the Beast Below. So much so that one of my catchphrases on the show is "I'm scared of the randomizer," and I'm once again scared of the randomizer. But yeah, we will get into it. We will go deep down below with the Beast Below. But first,
hold on a second. Wait a minute.
Hold your whales.
Yeah. Hold your whales, guys, because before we do that, we have to enter the Pull to Open feedback loop. And of course, in the feedback loop, we like to talk about reviews. And before we talk about reviews, we'll talk about you, listener, potentially leaving reviews, which is to say, please leave them. We love reviews. If you like what you're hearing, if you like the podcast, if you have recommendations for the podcast, if you have thoughts on the podcast, if you have emoji titles of Doctor Who episodes for the podcast, go ahead and leave that in a review. We'd love to hear from you, whatever you think, and we'd also love to read your emoji titles out on the show, which we occasionally do as our brain teaser here.
Yeah, and if you don't like the show and you just hate listening and you've got us on as hate wallpaper because you love to hate the show so much, leave us a review. Let us know. Yeah.
Do it.
Give us a Professor Hater.
Yeah, exactly. But
a 5-star Professor Hater.
Yeah, exactly. He's worth 5 stars. He's got tenure.
Yeah. So we're on a lot of platforms. We love those Apple Podcast reviews. If you happen to have an iPhone, or if you're getting one for the holidays, definitely fire up the Apple Podcasts app. Even if you've never used it before, leave us a review there. But also many other ways to review this. It's just the Apple Podcast is the best for a young, strapping young podcast like ours.
Nice. That is our favorite place where you can leave reviews. But if there is another place or any other place you can leave a rating, we'd really appreciate it. It really helps out the show by making it more visible to other users of the app you're in. Speaking of places we are also on YouTube at youtube.com/pull-to-open. We keep uploading our season 2 episodes from the podcast, season 2 of Pull to Open. From stuff we never cut videos before. So those are coming every Wednesday. And of course, the new stuff, guys, is always coming Saturday. Everybody's been really supportive there. People are leaving great comments. So if you like your podcast with a YouTube flavor and people to look at, that's where we are. Go ahead and subscribe, as well as hit that bell button to get some notifications whenever we got new content, which is often.
Yeah, I got to say, being on YouTube and being on Spotify video podcasts really sort of upped my game, visually speaking. Like I spend at least a minute in front of the mirror now before the podcast. Like a whole minute. I'm like, hey, there we go.
Wow.
Started wearing TARDIS blue, standing in front of my Pull to Open sign, we want to give Easter eggs for you visual fans.
Yeah, totally. See if you can spot the new one in my background. Which might have multiple doctors in it. That's what we're talking about. Well, we were talking about Power of the Doctor. But one of the places we're also at is a place called TikTok. And as I said, we're at Pull to Open, all one word there. And we have a great crowd following us. We've got about almost 8,000 followers now. There's always good discussion on the short videos we cut for that platform, and I like to highlight various comments that people leave there, and I've got a couple this week. And they follow a great week of engagement on our Runaway Bride videos, and there was, obviously a lot made of Donna, and it was interesting that she came between romantic companions, and she wasn't one in this case, and certainly when she came back, she wasn't one, and there was some discussion about that. And I would love to read this comment from Pigeon_follower. Pigeon follower also follows us and pigeons. And it echoes a lot of what Donna represents. And Pigeon Follower says, the romantic companion thing feels overdone. I want to see them move away from it. And I think I kind of do too, after having done Rose. And we've seen the Doctor and Yaz recently, which, again, nothing wrong with anything there, but it was like this repeated thing where companions fall for the Doctor.
Yeah,
I don't want... Yeah, I mean, I'm glad New Who went there, right? Because it was always understated. It was never explicit in the original series about these romantic relationships. You would just infer what you wanted to, saw the show that you wanted to. But it's fun and interesting and new to do it. And I liked the stuff they did with Rose and even others. But it can start to feel now like this sort of, I don't know, more repetition than variations on a theme. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I think that was why a lot of people didn't like Clara when she came along, was that sort of the romantic tension between her and Matt Smith. it just kind of,
Yeah.
And it was addressed directly by Moffat in Deep Breath, right, where Madame Vastra says, you fool, you might as well flirt with a mountain.
Well, and then Capaldi says to her, "I'm not your boyfriend," and she's like, "I never said you were," and he's like, "I wasn't really talking to you." Like, I mean, it was you're not, or rather, you're not the one that needs reminding. Like, he's basically reminding himself, which I thought was kind of an interesting little twist on that.
Yeah, because it did sort of take it a little bit too far in the time of the Doctor with the Doctor actually being naked, hugging his companion. Like, that's a workplace complaint waiting to happen right there.
And I forgot to read this other comment. It was also from Rachel1091. Basically, also echoes it. Platonic love needs more attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes a man and a woman can just be best friends and nothing more. And I agree. And I think this sort of takes the first comment and lets you know that you don't really lose what you want to do with the Doctor and the companion sort of mattering to each other in a very special way. And we saw that with Capaldi and with, as I mentioned in our time flight stuff with Tegan, which obviously she was in Power of the Doctor and there was a lot of stuff they had to resolve. So you still get that great drama. You just don't necessarily have to go to, we're going to be lovers.
Yeah, friendship as love is sort of underrated in our culture, I think. Big shout out to all my friends. Love all of you guys. But it just, there's a beautiful poem by Robert Graves. I'm not going to say it, look it up. It's a very short poem. It's called Friendship at First Sight. And it's about, that sense of like, we mistake what love at first sight is. It's, twinned helplessness against the mutual tug of procreation. Love that line. But friendship at first sight also, can catch you in the same way. It's that did we just become best friends moment, that you have. Like, that's really cool. And you get that a lot in Doctor Who fandom, I think. Like, we've got this thing that we love to discuss. We're really excited about it. Our faces light up. Like, it produces a lot of friendships. So, yeah, it's nice for the show to pay more attention to that, and perhaps a little bit less to romantic love now. That's definitely been done.
Yeah, completely agree. So we'll see what happens in the future. Certainly, I think with Catherine Tate coming back and it being sort of a new Tennant Tate era, we're going to see a return to that normalcy, I guess, of the show.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely going to be I hope there's going to be a Donna line of like, I still don't like you. You're still too skinny.
How are you still so skinny?
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's like a stick.
So thanks for the comments, everybody, and keep them coming. Again, we're at Pull to Open on TikTok and Pull to Open 63 on Twitter and Instagram. And by the way, I finally found it. I wanted to get into these a little bit earlier. Yeah. The emoji reviews. Emoji titles. We have a few. Oh, we
do.
That we got from on Twitter, not necessarily from reviews. So I wanted to highlight these, and I wanted to quiz you, Chris.
Oh boy,
because I know I got two of them. I think I need help with the third one.
Woo, okay, I'm on the spot.
There's three. Yep. Do you want to start with one of the ones I'm pretty sure I know, or do you want to start with the hard one?
Yeah, let's go easy to hard. Ease me in here.
Okay. This one, it's two emojis. First one is a crab, and the second one is the scream.
Oh, God. Crab with a scream. I feel like I'm going to be terrible at all of these, so... No, that's space crabs. Like, oh God, this is the problem with the show that we love. Is like there's so damn much of it.
Come on, crabs. I'll even give it away. Maybe.
Yeah, please give it away.
Crabs were gigantic.
Oh, it's still not doing it. I can't. My mind is blank.
Oh my man, it's the Macra Terror, of course.
See? Never seen it.
Yeah, crabs, big crabs.
Crabs.
They were in Gridlock. Although we haven't done Gridlock for the podcast yet. So
yeah. Okay, but love it.
We would have had, I'm sure. Wait for the Gridlock pod for the 10-minute digression on the Macra.
We're all
You'll never miss it
Troughton.
again.
We're all Troughton villains, like, things that now sound unintentionally hilarious, like the crabs and the weed.
The crabs and the weed. Oh my! All right.
That's a hell of a weekend in Vegas. Right.
Sorry, I forgot to mention these are from Dalton 1963 on Twitter. Dalton 1963 sent us these. So
thanks, Dalton. You got me.
Okay, second one. Here we go.
Okay.
Thinking emoji.
Mm-hmm.
Trash bin. Plunger.
Okay, got to be a Dalek episode.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Assumedly, that's the trash bin. The
plunger. So those two combine into Daleks, right? So that's the thinking emoji in front of Dalek.
The thinking of the Dalek, the thoughtfulness of the Daleks. Oh God, I'm going to be 0 for 2 here. Can you give me a clue? New, old?
What is the thing you do with your mind that sometimes stresses your mind, and you might have even been doing it 20 to 30 seconds ago? We're trying to...
The anxiety of the Daleks?
Trying to...
The brainstorming of the Daleks.
Getting close.
The brain of Dalek.
You're trying to search your brain for facts you might have heard in the past. What are you trying to do?
The library of the Dalek? I don't know.
You are trying to...
The remembrance of the Daleks. Remembrance. Oh God. Oh wow. Oh, you know what? TLDW is going to be so easy after this. I'm like, I'm dying out here with these lightning rounds. Okay, give me the third one. Perhaps
this is the one I don't know, so you're going to have to. I'm relying on you on this one.
All right. Watch me get it straight away.
So first emoji, scale. You have a scale, with the two dishes that the center thing balancing it. So scale. A clock. It's the sort of mantle clock emoji. Okay.
Could be the master's status, yeah.
A crown. So what is this?
Okay, so it's a royal episode. A clock and a crown makes me think Girl in the Fireplace.
I don't think it's that. I think it's like the scale could be balance. I don't know if any show title has balance in the title. Balance.
Justice. Is it Trial of a Time Lord? Trial of a Time Lord. It's got to be.
Trial of a... Oh, yes!
Yes!
Yes, that's got to be it. Yes! Justice, Time, and King Lord. Trial of a Time Lord.
Oh my God!
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We got him. Dalton, 1963. Let us know if we nailed these. They're going right to our spreadsheet. Great job. Great job, Chris, for getting that one.
Oh, my God. Oh.
We did it. Oh, wow. Okay. Podcast over, guys. See you later. Like and subscribe. No, wait. No, don't. We still have an episode to talk about. We should get to that. We should go because we're all here to talk and hear about The Beast Below. Which, holy cow, do you need a breather before TLDW?
I do.
Everyone take a drink.
Do we have any other new business? Because, I
think we're done, dude. I think that's all the business we got. Yeah, new logo, blah, blah, blah. Disney
can I throw in one idea? I'm going to take this to the bank. I think you can take this to the bank. I think Disney Plus is going to launch the complete range of Who so far at Christmas. Possibly including classic Who, and that's why the logo is the classic Baker logo. So
you mean like come Christmas for streaming, everything from an unearthly child all the way up to the Power of the Doctor?
That is my prediction.
Or somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, because Doctor Who is so associated with Christmas. People are going to be like, where's my Christmas Who? Disney Plus is like, I gotcha. Come and subscribe. We've got the whole show here.
Yeah.
That would be such a Disney move.
Yeah. I bet maybe Power of the Doctor, they still want to sell some Blu-rays, so they might not have that one specifically, but everything up to before that.
Exactly. So, or maybe they do it where they release a few series at a time. on Disney Plus, just to sort of up the interest.
Oh, don't put Doctor Who back in the vault. The Disney vault. Although the BBC vault, I guess, because they'd still be owning it. But I like
Or
that.
just like-
That would be
yeah.
amazing. I think I don't think that the plan is for classic, though. At least at this point, I don't know if that deal's been inked, but I could be wrong. Were you reading differently?
I have not read anything. I'm just assuming that Disney is bring a giant dump truck of cash up to the BritBox offices, and like being like, "Hey, we'll buy BritBox if we need to." Like that's how serious we are.
I feel like definitely from Eggleston on, I think that's appropriate. That's already a lot of TV.
That is a lot of TV. And then maybe after that, they're like, we're going to do a classic series every week or something.
I think they'll be more inclined to back up that truck of money once it's sort of proven itself a little bit. Like oh, now this is actually a good audience creator and moneymaker for us. Now let's get this stuff from the classic series. Yeah.
Some of it is dependent on lawyers and rights and all of that stuff that we're not privy to. So who knows? But that's my prediction.
You know what I would love to see, and I just thinking about streaming services and the things that go along with it. So you go into the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, for example, and you'll see some of those documentary-like series that they've done. I forget the name of them now, but there's stuff on Stan Lee and whatever, and sort of the background of the making of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would love to see not just an adventure in space and time, but also like there's been so many documentaries.
Yes.
Get some of the select ones that they've made over the years about Doctor Who, and some are on Blu-ray and some aren't, and some are extras. Just poll the fandom. The fandom knows what are the good ones, and get the good ones out there.
And for the new show, all of the Doctor Who confidentials.
Absolutely.
I could not find the one for the Beast Below. It's not online anymore. Which makes me think, maybe Disney is like holding that back for some extras. Because that's, Disney loves to. You delve into Disney Plus, you got like, I'm not doing an ad for Disney Plus here, but they do have so many extras. Like that's one thing you can take to the bank on their Doctor Who presentation. There'll be extras up the wazoo. Maybe all those old Doctor Who confidentials.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Speaking of places to start.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Enough the stalling, my man. We got to make a transition into actually talking about the Beast Below. And as always, we start with TLDW, Too Long Didn't Watch, Too Long Doctor Who, where one of us summarizes the entire story in record time. And for the Beast Below, the crown is on your head, my friend.
Okay, I'm going to say that we should call it Too Long Didn't Whale for this one.
WAIL.
Yeah, exactly. Too Long Don't Whale. Okay, I'm ready. I've got my tabs closed. It's New Who.
So you do get a full minute.
Oh, geez.
To summarize this.
But it's also a Moffat story. So summarizing it's like it is replete with rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Many, many ways that I could fall down here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that I probably will fall down. I'm going to set expectations low.
Okay.
I got the gold medal with Trial of a Time Lord. I feel like I'm good. Like it's an honor just to be nominated in this event.
Well, if you end up 600 feet below decks, we know how far you fell. But you said you're ready, so we're going to go right into it. In the official pull to open summary of the Beast Below, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so it's Amy's first trip in the TARDIS. The Doctor and Amy materialize in the future on Starship UK because it turns out that the whole of the UK, except Scotland, has come off the Earth after the solar flares, and they're on this ship. But there's something wrong with the ship. The Doctor notices it's a police state because the children are crying. There's a child that's crying silently, and so he starts to investigate. They both start to investigate. Amy discovers that there's something so horrible that people keep forgetting it, and they keep voting to forget it. And they meet Liz 10, who is the current queen, who's also investigating this. And they discover that there's no engines on Starship UK. What's the big reveal? It's a space whale they're building on top of a giant space whale. They're basically torturing it in order to make it go faster, but it turns out it doesn't need to be tortured to go faster. And the Doctor almost kills the space whale, but Amy stops him. And that's why the Doctor needs companions, because they stop the Doctor doing genocide. And then they go off the TARDIS because Churchill calls.
Nice. You got it. You got it all.
I almost went into analysis there at the end.
Anyway.
Okay. Any big holes there? Oh, I didn't mention the Smilers.
The Smilers, yeah, that was a big deal.
The Smilers. What? Well, should we just go straight into it? What in the hell are the Smilers? I'm not even sure.
So the Smilers are these weird enforcer things that everyone's so scared of. I like the bit of dialogue where the Doctor talks about how no one goes within like a few feet of each of these things because they're so frightened of them. And they actually deliver on why they're frightened, which is to say there's a point where the Smilers come out to ostensibly kill them or take them somewhere, right? So that's all good.
We think they're just heads in boxes and they turn out to be actual people walk out of the boxes, yeah.
Right, but it is also like, there's a thing where it's the actual teacher or something in the classroom. It seems like it's a robo-teacher.
That's the cold open, yeah, I didn't mention that.
So there's all these things where like, well, are they just there as like observers or are they also like bank tellers and whatever else? Like the Smilers are like a robot workforce, it seems like. There's a lot of these things that aren't fully thought through in this story. This is
it's a Stephen Moffat joint, yes.
Yeah.
It's very Moffat-y.
So I wasn't super bothered by the Smilers because I think they're effective what they need to be, which is like super creepy things to scare children. And that sort of gets right at the heart of this one. As an episode written for kids and treating Doctor Who as a kids show, I think this episode works. I think it's a good example of textbook Doctor Who where, kids are crying, the Doctor comes in as the savior, the hero figure. It gets at the essence of him in that sense. Because I like that he does all those heroic things, but then at the end, it's one of the I think it might be the only time where he says, I'm going to give up my name based on what I'm doing, other than the War Doctor, I guess.
Which is a foreshadowing of the War Doctor. And that is, the best thing. If I'm trying to find good things to say about The Beast Below, that's where I go to first. Like, there's a lot of foreshadowing of what would become the Day of the Doctor here. And if you include the forgetting, then there's foreshadowing of the silence. So it's Moffat being Moffat-y, which is both good and bad, right? We know and love Stephen Moffat, and we know and love him enough to know when he's having good days and when he's having bad days. The Smilers, just to close the loop on those, they didn't just scare kids. They scared my wife. She has a terror of clowns.
She
remembered this as the one with the clowns. And they're not. We had to watch it just to say, "Hey, look, they're not clowns." Except they got a clownish vibe to them. I can imagine being Bart Simpson in my bed after watching this, going, "Can't sleep. Smilers will eat me." That's sort of kind of the idea, like scary, creepy, old. Really scary for certain kids. So I get that, and it's so good behind the sofa viewing. But yeah, you're right. It is for children, and the show is a show at root for kids, and you have to reestablish that every time. You do have to have a kind of a kid-centric episode every now and again. To have that great, I think it is perhaps one of the best summaries in Doctor Who, where Amy is like, the Doctor's given this whole speech about not interfering. And she's like, "Oh, so it's don't interfere unless there's a crying child. That's your rule." And he's like, "Yep,"
which happens quite a bit,
right? Which is perfect. It's perfect. It's beautiful, and it shows that Moffat does at root get what and who the Doctor is. So you can hate on this all you want, and I will, but you'd be expending a lot of energy to do that. And I kind of want to go early to the question that I ask in every podcast, Pete, which is, what did your kids think? What was their reaction?
They both liked it. I don't think either one loved it, but I think my youngest was more into it, and I think it is sort of that smiler, that piece of the smiler that sort of like stays with you if you're a younger kid. It's really creepy, also because it's not just a scary thing. It's like this thing that is clearly sanctioned by the society. The idea that these things are creepy, but also figures of authority. Which gets at like the sickness of this police. Like, can you imagine that, right? Here in like 2022, and democracy, like it's something that is deliberately creepy and scary, and just sort of an enforcement mechanism. It's like, not that it's never happened. It's just that that's the doctor correctly surmises this is a police state.
Yes.
If this is happening, so I think that's good, and I also like I like that. Matt Smith is great. Okay, this is the thing. My kids really like Matt Smith as a doctor. I think he's a natural when in that Doctor Who is a kids show. He's just so likable. He's got the energy of a child, being so young and sort of bounding around the screen. And this is young Matt Smith in his run as Doctor Who, right? He's still sort of figuring out the role and working really closely with, it seems, Stephen Moffat on sort of delivering those very doctorish lines. Like, I love his whole thing there where he figures the whole thing out in basically Act 1 of the Smilers, and people aren't going forward with them and surmising what's going on with the kid and what exactly is going on here. It really just shows the depth of his experience, right? And that why we trust this guy. So it's a winning episode for kids watching for either the first time or longtime kid viewers. They kind of get it, or they're reminded of like, oh yeah, that's the doctor. He's great. And I like it. And his new energy is pretty awesome.
And he is. I mean, we'll get into the problem with Matt Smith being all kid friendly in a minute, but I do.
We are. Oh boy, I'm excited for that part.
But I do want to give a shout out to Moffat for, I think, one of the most doctory lines ever, which is when Amy goes off to investigate the mysterious tent, and she's like, "What are you going to do?" And he says, "Oh, what I always do: stay out of trouble, badly."
Yeah. Great line. So many good lines here. I mean, I was just saying, Moffat's also like, he's an experienced writer and experienced Doctor Who writer, but this is his second episode as showrunner.
Yes.
Right? So like, he's kind of getting into the groove of things too. So I feel like this is kind of an establishing episode for a lot of different things. But again, the result as a story doesn't really ever come together. It's just like you're kind of rooting for it the whole way, I gotta say. But it ends up being kind of a jumble of good performances and interesting ideas that ultimately kind of unravels kind of by the end.
Well, I'd like to, I mean, of course, to introduce more, we'd like to have a wide range of opinions here on Pull to Open. I'd like to introduce a review from a Doctor Who fan of A Beast Below. And this fan said that it was a bit of a mess. That fan's name was Stephen Moffat. 3 years later, looking back on all of the stories that he'd written, he described The Beast Below as his least favorite because it was a mess. So Moffat gonna hate on Moffat. And I think one of the reasons it is a bit of a mess, it does sort of play into this notion of like the Doctor's being reintroduced as like, cuddly uncle. He's like friend to the kids. He's like a champion of children. And then he turns around and he's like gonna kill this space whale. Like, just when we've established that trust in him, and like he doesn't. I mean, the solution is so simple, and it really over-eggs the pudding in sort of making Amy realize that, oh, wait a minute, the space whale isn't your enemy. You don't need to torture it. It loves kids. Look. It just, it's a bit much. But like, why didn't the Doctor's very, very smart, it establishes in this episode. And Liz 10 is very, very smart. And no one in all of the 300 years that this has been happening, has realized that the space whale was actually willing to take the city wherever.
Well, this is the only way this climax works, is that kind of yes, or even if they were made aware
Mm-hmm.
that they would still do the safe thing, which is to say, you don't know that. You don't know it's going to be benevolent. So to be safe, we still need to lobotomize it. And because you might think even like, why does Amy just go ahead and do it? Why not just say, hold her hands up like, whoa, 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 stop. Has anyone here considered that it might not kill everybody if we stop torturing it? Has anyone considered that, And it's like, if they actually get a chance to consider it, they might still make the same decision, right? So Amy, like, in other words, like, I think it's a good reason for her to just take everything into her own hands and do it, because it would just be focus grouped, and then die at the focus group. So yeah, you kind of do, but it's to the same point. To your point, like, yeah, it's all kind of this sort of contrived thing so that Amy gets to be the hero, and therefore the Doctor doesn't end up throwing her out at the end.
But if you're a kid and you're watching this the first time, you're like, oh, the Doctor's cool. He's a hero. He stands up for children. Whoa, what is he doing to that whale?
Yeah.
It's a bit jarring, and I know that it's like, it's War Doctor-ish. It's like specifically a reference to the War Doctor, right? He says he's not going to be allowed to call himself Doctor after this.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a left turn at the traffic lights in terms of like, just, he was cute and cuddly and Matt Smith, and now he's genocidal, scary, shouty Doctor. Like, that's not, like, what are you doing? Are you establishing trust with kids or not in this episode,
Yeah, just talk to the thing, man. Use your telepathy. Or whatever.
Doctor being a bad dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, it works as a metaphor. We'll get into that. It's a bit of a heavy-handed metaphor.
How did you like the very beginning? So it's like you have the 11th Doctor and Amy there on their first sort of moments together as Doctor and companion, and she's like floating out of the TARDIS, and he's holding onto her ankle, which I guess started to become more of a thing in New Who. I'm sort of suddenly remembering Clara sort of hanging out of the TARDIS in, I think it was Face the Raven, right?
Yes. Yeah, and there's a lot of that, and obviously it plays a big part in the Day of the Doctor as well. This whole sort of falling out of the TARDIS and just basically hanging on to the TARDIS thing is a very Moffat thing. He definitely likes that visual image. It's a beautiful way to kind of start the show. It's a bit weird that it has Amy's narration over it, and then Amy's narration just stops. I guess it kicks in again at the end, but it's just... Right,
but they also used her words here on the DVD, or no, I think as the opening narration for the entire season for a while there. So
yeah. When it was shown on American TV, it had that sort of intro that I met a man, when I was a child.
Yeah, and so I think this is partly to your point, sort of over egging the pudding a bit on like we're reintroducing Doctor Who for a whole different audience or expanded audience, and arguably it really went sort of global phenomenon with Matt Smith by sort of coming to America, and BBC America got the show, and I think its popularity was at its height here, but it's also this Doctor Who is fantasy thing that Moffat has said many times that was his overall approach. It's a sort of a fantasy series, and Amy, the stand-in for the sort of innocent girl who's just sort of taken in, Alice, essentially, into this crazy world that's sort of upside down and exciting.
It's interesting. We were just talking in the feedback loop about, romantic love versus platonic love, because, of course, Amy later on in the series decides that she's really into the Doctor.
Yeah.
Again, a bit creepy, since he kind of knew her as a child, there's that aspect of it. But here, it's definitely platonic. In The Beast Below, like, she gives him a big old hug at the end. There's nothing to it. It's just a nice, friendly, platonic hug. And it's nice to see, the Amy and the Doctor as friends. And, friends help each other out. Friends don't let friends kill space whales.
Well,
is basically the message.
I also like that this is in contrast to where they went with Tenet. Now, Tenet's very likable and affable, so you could argue his oncoming storm bits towards the end, where he kind of went darker. If you think about things that went on in the waters of Mars, End of Time, um, I like that seems more like an explicit reversal, that he's not so much the loner, the lonely god anymore. Like, he doesn't just reluctantly want companions around. He kind of needs Amy and wants her to be with him, and he's willing to let his guard down for that, right? Which we've seen here and there, but like in the direction the show is going, I like that it sort of reversed it, and it's like, okay, he's going to be more friendly. He's going to be chummy with his companions. Let's have a little more warmth in the TARDIS, and I think that's a good choice.
So there's a bit of a beast in the room, as it were, in terms of this episode. That so we're recording this Sunday, November the 6th. It's like 2 days before the midterms, a week and a bit after Elon Musk took over Twitter. And first of all, I'm like, did the randomizer take us here because Musk is like fail whaling all over the place with Twitter right now? Fail whale. That has to be the title of the episode.
Right. Noted.
But there's that, but also I'm like, Doctor Who, it's going to take me away from all of this anxiety about, regressive reactionary nationalism taking over the world. I'm just going to watch this nice old, inoffensive, innocuous story called The Beast Below. Oh my God, it's Brexit.
Explain.
So it's not specifically Brexit, like we didn't know it at the time, because this was 2010. But I'm going to argue
well before Brexit. Yeah.
Well before Brexit, but I'm going to argue in this podcast, Pete, and I want to flag this up front because it may be a bit of a stinger. We might want to insert an ad break after I say this. I think Doctor Who may have helped cause Brexit.
Whoa! All right, guys. Come on
strap in.
After you've heard a little bit from Casper. Oh, no, wait. I think they pulled out at the last minute. We're going to have to go right into it, Chris.
Come on, Twitter advertisers. Come to Pull to Open. Okay. All right. So let me lay out the situation, the scenario here. It is 2010. It is April 2010 where this show transmits. First of all, like the mention of Scotland leaving the UK may make people think that this is about the Scottish independence referendum, which took place in 2014. Ultimately, that was a no vote. It was pretty close. But go on, Scotland. Good for you, Scotland. I get this. But anyway, yeah. So Scotland has left the UK. The UK has literally detached itself from the continent of Europe. And isolated itself in space as a police state. There was actually a cut line, apparently, about how they just closed the borders.
Right.
So it's so Brexity. So it wasn't intending to predict Brexit, but Brexit only happened because we had a Tory government after 2010, Conservative government in the UK after 2010. Okay. So the election happens a month later. The Doctor... We see him mashing buttons in this story and saying, we're going to bring down the government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good line.
Right? The government, good line, but the government at this point was the Labour Party. The election was very close, very, very close. 8 million people watched the Doctor say he was going to bring down the government. The result of the
everyone
election...
thought that was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what?
Hey! You imagine the little kids in the voting booth. Daddy, Doctor says bring down the government. Like, maybe that was enough. And
okay, Timmy.
Yeah.
You.
By the way, Timmy fell down the well. Seriously, Moffat? Come on. Let's just throw that in. Yeah, the child in the cold open is called Timmy, if you haven't seen The Beast Below lately. But yeah, it's clearly sort of a metaphor for British colonialism. We'll get to why, and isolationism. That thing was always in there. But it was only because we had a Tory government from 2010 onwards. So first of all, Labour and the Liberal Democrats really should have gone into coalition after that election. Right?
Okay.
The natural allies.
I didn't do the coalition episode, though. I guess if you count A Good Man Goes to War.
Yes. So, arguably, if Doctor Who hadn't made it cool to bring down the government, maybe they would have got a seat more, a few seats more, and that would have made their coalition just that bit more likely, right? And kept us away from the Tory Lib Dem coalition, which led to a Tory government, which led to the Lib Dem collapse and vote in 2010, which meant that the Tories had to govern on their own thereafter, which meant the Brexit vote happened.
Yeah.
And it was just off the radar for most people in Britain. Europe wasn't a big issue, but they'd committed to it in their manifesto, so now they had to do it. So Brexit. And in the show, what we're told that Scotland separated. Well, why would Scotland separate? Well, there have been arguments online that it's because Brexit. Because Scotland voted to remain, Scotland as a whole, in the Brexit referendum, voted to remain in the European Union.
Okay.
So why would their starship leave? Well, maybe they were aboard Starship EU.
Oh, right? Okay. Yeah, you couldn't have one for every country. That'd be silly.
Yeah. I love, as much as I'm sure Moffat would love to write Starship Scotland. Everyone's complaining about things. I think that the Scottish Starship is on board with the EU Starship. They're big EU fans over there.
There's, I guess, future history here now that, everyone, every nation or every group on Earth had some spaceship that went out into space. And literally you could do any number of sort of political stories now set in this time period where you want to make some kind of point about sort of the national politics of that time. I mean, think about what Starship America is here,
God.
Right? And it's like
constantly threatening to split in two.
Super, like there's a red side and a blue side, and it's it's very
Well, to that point, this is a very highly trafficked area, as it were, of Doctor Who history, right? This is the solar flares that we first... Was it the Ark? Or the Ark in Space? Where we first...
It was the Ark in Space. So, yeah, this is a very contested... And I think they even sort of recognize it in the show that they might have screwed up. Contested on exactly when this happened. So, the dialogue in this episode really locks it down because they talk about how Amy is something like 1,300 years old by the measure of the computer. And so that puts it at like roughly the 30th plus century, like maybe the 33rd century or something. Because it's basically like it says, he mentions, the Doctor even name checks solar flares of the 30th century. And this is 300 years after that because of the age of Liz 10. So that's all well and good, except in the Ark in Space, it's made very clear the solar flares are well after like the 30th century. So like the 30th century is when Revenge of the Cybermen is supposed to happen. Right. And if you remember, that's thousands of years before the Ark in Space.
Oh, God.
So when this should have taken place is like closer to Jack's time, Jack Harkness in the 50th century. Yeah. So, but they actually, when Liz 10 reappears, they sort of correct that because she is in that time of the 50th century. So which is it? And it's like, well, you could argue this is correct, and that she just ends up stopping the body clock for a lot longer, for a long while. That's probably the best way to go. But
God.
It is just one of these things where the writers clearly didn't check the manuals that I often check of the A history books, because it completely screwed it up in terms of when the solar flares are supposed to be.
Maybe that's not Liz 10 we see later on. Maybe it's Liz 14, who looks just like Liz 10. Huh?
She's a clone. Could be,
I was making a Power of the Doctor reference there. 14 is 10.
I've got it. Maybe the great vampires came back, and there's a whole vampire undercurrent to all of this that we could explore in a sequel. Let's just do that.
God. Yeah.
Doctor playing everybody.
Doctor Who is a show that loves its dating controversies, so I wouldn't put it past Moffat to have done that deliberately, just to mess with our minds. Yeah. Liz Tan, we should definitely give a shout out to the actress. She's awesome. Liz Tan is sort of kind of maybe the best thing about this episode. Sophie Okonedo is her name. She has a lot of badass lines.
Yeah, she's all right. I think conceptually she doesn't work, but
Yeah.
I love. Yeah, I think the actress's performance is great. It's one of the best lines of the whole episode, where she says basically, "I rule."
Yes.
you know,
And she has
I'm the
she has
bloody
a very
queen, mate.
I'm bloody queen, mate. I rule, and she has a bit of a chav accent. She goes a bit Rose,
Yeah,
which is an
that's all
interesting
right.
choice. I like the idea that royalty. Maybe they could have played on that, and like all of the common people in this episode have posh accents. Like the accents have just reversed, and royalty is now talking like Cockney rhyming slang,
Yeah.
and would it be nice to have that be part of a larger idea?
So there are a lot of plot holes in this episode, but I think probably the worst might be that Liz 10 is supposed to be 300 years old when she thinks she's 50.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's an interesting reveal. It's like, oh, MG, like the scale of something is larger than you think, which is always kind of a cool thing sci-fi can do. But how does that even work?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't there be records? Wouldn't she be able to look at those records, especially if she's 10 years into her reign, or by her perspective? And would not the people know? Like, would not they be like, okay, she's been queen forever? And wouldn't that get back to her some way? It just breaks down when you get like even half an inch deep into thinking about this. It's just,
Yeah,
how is that
really.
possible?
I mean, we'll say, not many of us remember that Queen Elizabeth II served for 300 years. Or certainly felt like it.
Too soon, my man. Whoa. First
Oh.
Brexit, now this. You kidding? I know you're the royal family.
Yeah, no, I love the Royals, and this is sort of like we'll get into why the randomizer took us here, but the randomizer certainly loves its Queen Elizabeths, as does the Doctor. So it's kind of nice to have Liz 10 for that reason. But yeah, I like that. So the central idea, I may as well get into the other metaphor in Chris's tiny history corner this week.
Brexit doesn't count.
No,
Another corner. I guess that's
Chris's
modern history.
Too soon history corner. But also, like the centerpiece of this episode, and the centerpiece of a lot of Moffat's writing, is how scary it is to forget things. Right? Memory is a big thing with Moffat. Like, you can see the origin of the silence here.
Right.
In this notion of you just completely forget. You go into the voting booth. Clearly Moffat had the election in mind here, had the upcoming. You knew this was going to be transmitted just before the election. So you had the idea of a voting booth. And you have the choice in a voting booth to protest or forget, right? Those are your two buttons.
Right.
When I discover that we're actually torturing a space whale, I'm going to protest this, or I'm going to forget it. It is actually said in the revealed in the story at the end that if you protest, then you're basically food for the whale. Like, it's not true that it is a lie that if 1% of you protest, then we'll stop doing it.
Let's stop there for a second then.
Yeah.
And I feel like no one's ever held accountable for that, because that feels like really horrific to me.
Yeah.
Even on top of the whale. Like, the whale's bad enough, but now they're just murdering everybody who protests, including children.
Yeah.
Who clearly aren't voting, but I guess they're bad sometimes. Like, what's little Timmy got a 0 on his assignment because he didn't do the homework, therefore he gets thrown to the whale. Like, hold on. How is that helping the whale thing at all?
It is. It is helping parents of kids watching who need to persuade their kids to do their homework.
Yeah, again, it's like one of these things that just, I guess, but it just unravels again at you go like a quarter inch deep, and it's like, hold on, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's a surefire way to make your population go below, decrease at a rate that would just be destructive to your society. It's like, it's just, come on.
And also, the whale loves kids, and you're feeding it kids.
How does it even know it's kids?
Yeah.
It never sees them. They just appear in his mouth. I mean,
get in my belly.
That's again. I it's easy to pick on this episode, but how does the whale understand? There's even, well, I guess it sort of came to their cries. Okay, fair enough. But then is it telepathic? I guess we're made to infer that it sort of has a connection. I don't know. There's just so many sort of loose ends here that you just
Yeah.
want answered, or if they did answer them, you'd still probably go like, come on, this is stupid.
Yeah, so the sequence of events, let's establish. So Starship UK, the UK minus Scotland is the last country on Earth. That's how far it's fallen post-Brexit. It's the last country on Earth to leave because of the solar flares. Because I guess, some future Boris Johnson was Prime Minister and everyone's like, what? No solar flares. I see no solar flares. The sky's burning. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Just go out and sunbathe. I guess there's a lot of denial going on, which again, kind of the core of this episode. Then the whale comes along, is trying to say like, hey, I heard your kids crying, would like to help. They're like, oh, giant space whale, torture it to make it move faster. And the whale spends the next 300 years going, dude, WTF? Ow. Ow. Ow, you're hurting. That hurt. Just stop it. I'm trying to help you.
See why? You hear its call at the end there, right?
Yeah.
When the doctor makes it audible.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, that it's not translated by the TARDIS like everything else. I would love that if it's like, dude, stop this crap, stop this shit, stop hurting me. Will you please stop? That would have been good.
The doctors with the sonic, I'm going to translate it to Californian so that you can hear what the whales actually say. Dude, WTF, dude, stop.
That'd be awesome.
It is. Okay, so this is a metaphor, a heavy-handed metaphor where the British people are being asked every 5 years to protest or to forget the past.
Huh.
What could this refer to? And it's a thing that has been happening for 300 years. That Britain maybe hasn't apologized enough for. Could it be the British Empire? I'd like to say,
thinking about
first of all, I'd like to say, as the resident Brit on Pull to Open, to all peoples of the world who were subjugated and oppressed by the British Empire, I'd like to say the most British apology I can, which is sorry. Sorry. Oops, sorry.
Say, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Give me a tenant. Sorry.
so sorry. So sorry. Pete, how did that come across as a Canadian? Were you like, this is clearly a British Empire reference, or is it just like Canada's so over that empire thing now?
I'm kind of over it, but anyway, the one I don't feel I'm in a position to accept or not accept your apology. So sorry for that there, but it was
Canada would accept the apology by apologizing itself.
Exactly,
for accepting the apology.
Sorry for even presuming we are that important. No, what I saw this generally as kind of maybe this is just too simplistic, but just sort of a take on elections themselves. Are you going to protest the current government, or are you going to forget all the things they should be held accountable for, right? Which is kind of like, I guess if you're being cynical, what elections are, sort of referendums on incumbents and the path you're taking. And, I think by sort of going with whatever's going on, no government's perfect. In fact, I think virtually all are far from it, but you kind of have to just decide, I'm going to forget the bad stuff they've done. And that's just kind of me being a realist, I think. I don't know if that's a particularly interesting thing. It does, even if that's what he was going for, it doesn't make up for the general kind of nonsense of the episode and sort of bad taste it leaves in your mouth.
It is a shame
you're
because
whale or not.
This is sort of a thing that Doctor Who has to grapple with, right? Is British history and the bad parts of British history. We see it with Whittaker. We see it with Demons of the Punjab, which sort of deals with the aftermath of the partition, and that sort of the way that was so suddenly enacted, harmed millions of lives. There is a lot in British history that needs to be reckoned with, and this is almost sort of feels like the show saying, it's so big, we're all forgetting it, and like, but maybe it's time for us as Britons to come to grips with it, right? So if that's the idea, then it kind of just needs to be dealt with better and not sort of undercut by its own kind of weirdness in the metaphor.
Well, that's what I mean by sort of the accountability for the police state, which I think goes way beyond the whale.
Yeah.
And that's why it sort of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, because you're just kind of like, okay, they saved the whale and that's all good. But this is, a dark kind of bad place, and with bad, I think most of them are sort of pretty faceless, those aides to the queen at the end. But there was a system, an apparatus, and I know, it's a 45-minute show. And again, we've already said this is about reaffirming Doctor Who as a kid show, but really you kind of want to see someone stand trial for this. Like, hold
Really?
on. Like,
maybe Liz Tan herself, since we learned that like she set up the system, and that's an interesting sort of examination of privilege, isn't it? Like the queen, everyone loves the queen in this episode. The queen's kind of cool, but turns out she's at the head of this system that she set up, or maybe her ancestors set up, that she's kind of a symbol of this system with the Smilers and the Winders, which makes me think of the girl in the fireplace, or in the Clockwork Robots, the Winders. We should also give a shout out to Smile, by the way, the Capaldi episode that we've been to already, Smile, which also takes place post Solar Flare. It's in the same timeline. And I got to say, just like, if we're going to do this nationalistic thing, like, why have we not seen any of those other nations? Like we mentioned, it would have been cool to see Starship USA, but then like, why is the arc in space filled with Brits? Are they all commuting from Starship UK? Like, how does this work? How is this whole other section of Brits gone to the planet in Smile, where they land with the emoji robots?
It'd be funny to see Starship Luxembourg, and it's just like a shuttlecraft.
Starship Andorra, Starship Vatican City. It's just an escape pod.
Starship Greenland. It's just like a comet.
But it looks much bigger from certain angles. Yeah,
totally. Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Right.
But did we want to talk a little bit about the whale itself? Just because I give this episode some points for finally doing the space whale sci-fi trope, which it's popped up all over the place. And this is like, it took Doctor Who a while to get there, but it got there. And the overall design of it, I thought, was kind of good. And I think I like that the script does it in such a way that you really only see it in one shot at the end, right? And which is good, because if they had it on screen for much longer, it would be much easier to pick at in terms of a special effect. So I mean, space whales, we like them. I think they don't make any physical sense in that, like, well, by definition, you'd kind of need to be going faster than light, or have some mechanism to go from sort of place to place that wouldn't take eons and eons and eons, even if it was a long-lived beast.
Are they creating wormholes? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and if it's eating people, what is it eating normally? What are its prey / food?
So that Doctor Who does actually answer that, not in the show, but are you familiar with the Song of Megaptera?
I am not. Tell me all about this song.
It's technically available as a big finish with the Sixth Doctor. It was actually released in 2010, roughly the same time as The Beast Below, but it was based on an unproduced script for the classic show by a guy named Pat Mills, who I'm very familiar with because I read the comic 2000 AD, where people like Alan Moore got their start. Pat Mills was also a writer for that. He helped create Judge Dredd. And he produced this script for the classic series. It was originally going to be a Davison story. It was rejected. Then it was going to be a Colin Baker story. It was rejected. Finally produced as a big finish. And basically, it was going to be Doctor Who's salute to Moby Dick. it's the Doctor was going to be the TARDIS was going to be sucked in accidentally by a Captain Grieg, who is hunting space whales. Accidentally captures the TARDIS, and like that sounds pretty cool, right? Sounds pretty cool on paper, and it's mentioned in the Sonnet Megaterra, which maybe actually wasn't cool on paper, and that's why it's not really a famous Big Finish. It is mentioned that space whales eat dark matter.
Oh, look at that!
And that there are actually time particles in that dark matter, which is what is helping them live for thousands of years. And the Doctor actually has a cool line about it's not internal organs, it's eternal organs. Because of those
that is a
time
good
particles. Line.
So it's maybe like dark matter is like the krill for this thing.
Yeah. So you didn't even need to feed it kids.
Yeah, and I guess if it's thousands of years, if it, depending on its range, so to speak, you wouldn't even necessarily have to go faster than light.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if you wanted to go to a nearby star system, it would just like say we wanted to go to Proxima Centauri on the back of a space whale. If it get like even half the speed of light, you could do it in 8 years. So yeah. That's right.
You just build your city there, get people used to the city, and then you got a sort of a classic Starship, 100-year Starship narrative,
Yeah.
I like that idea. The inherent structural problem of The Beast Below is if you're saving the space whale for the big reveal, then you can't explain the space whale. There's barely any time to do it, But I like to think, I'm going to headcanon this, and I'm going to say that they feed it kids because it's kind of like time particle methadone. Because kids have youth and energy, and it's like
sounds a little like vampirism a little.
It's actually what it's actually eating is all of the kids' potential future, right?
A little bit of Weeping Angel methodology mixed in there. Interesting.
So that's how I'm going to headcanon this.
Yeah, I'm also like, I don't know if anyone else gets hung up on this, but where was the original engine? And what happened?
Yeah.
Like, did you launch this ship and then it failed? Or the way it's hollowed out on the bottom, you almost think of like this comical Spaceballs sequence where they like go to ludicrous speed and just the engine goes, right? It leaves the city up top. And everybody's standing there watching the engine just go with plaid in front of it. It's like, okay, who's got ideas? Liz, you? What are we doing now? Huh? Well, I did see a space whale off the port bow.
Yeah, she suddenly turns. She turns off screen. It's like, she blows. Wow. Yes, I love that. I now want to see that. That would be a perfect sort of Moffat 5-minute prequel episode kind of thing to do retroactively. Oh, yes. I love that. Yeah. And so the engine room is like empty. The engines are disconnected. Are there any engineers?
Right.
Are they in on the conspiracy? Did anyone notice that if they're not in on the conspiracy, are there any engineers at all? And if not, are people not noticing?
I mean, you just have to believe everyone is so damn scared that, that they're just not questioning a single thing. Like basically everyone's noticed, but no one dares upset the system, which is fine. It's just, it's not played that way. And that's a really dark way to play it, right? In other words, that's a very scarred society, whether you stop torturing the whale or not, which again, sort of brings me back to my sort of my ultimate problem is like the accountability here is just non-existent. So I don't know. It's there again, big ideas, all seem really interesting. And I think, with a tighter script with bigger things to say other than Doctor Who is a good kids show, could have added up to something, better, if not epic.
Yeah, agreed. It has a lot of good Moffat elements that will come into their own later down the line, mostly in Day of the Doctor. Like, it's nice to see that he basically had the idea for Day of the Doctor here, almost. Like, he had it kind of pre-worked out in his head. I think this is the first time that he said that it happened on one day. And it was a bad day.
It was a bad day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could have been being just sort of, figure of speech, but
Right.
it was a bad day.
It was literally a bad day, and I like that. If you just binge watch all of Doctor Who, like all of Matt Smith's era, first of all, good luck with that. Secondly, you would see that callback, and you would be like, "Whoa, that's
Yeah.
so cool!" They introduced this as a multi-season arc thing, like beginning of season 5, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. What did you think about the Churchill teaser? Other than it being
well,
a weird contrast with the overall message
of colonialism,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
colonialism.
Yeah, maybe like that's introduced for balance. Like I'm going to subtly take a dig at the entire country for its history of colonialism, but like let's now turn to one of its biggest proponents, the man who didn't want to give up India. Winston Churchill, the man who caused a lot of colonial deaths in his own way. But
to be fair, he did other things.
Yeah, but maybe
and
don't remind us like back to back.
yeah. I actually really liked it because mostly because you get that shadow of the Dalek, and again, you sort of have to situate yourself in space, and time. This is the beginning of kind of a new era of Doctor Who, and Moffat sort of reassuring you that the Daleks are here. This is still Doctor Who. And it's going to be interesting and fun because we're doing something with them we've never done before and sort of mixing them with British history in a way that I think at this point had kind of been done a little bit maybe in the novels and stuff, but we're having some more fun with it, which you're kind of teasing all that sort of happening. So I think it really works, even though they don't really do this a lot of the teasing. Although I have to think about it, I guess they did to some extent.
Is it the first? I was going to ask you this: is it the first landline call that the Doctor gets from the console?
Oh yeah,
maybe the only from the console, as opposed to the phone in the pull to open door.
Yeah. Well, you think about phones at that time in the 30s, like it's all switchboards, and so who's the person? What are they switching that to? There's like one particular socket for the little connector that's like got the Time Lord seal on it, and it just you pull that aside and you put it in, and that must be it, right? Like,
yeah, maybe, or maybe like the line from the telephone that Churchill is using actually connects to a desk drawer where it's hooked into a burner cell phone that the Doctor has given Churchill.
Yeah, I like that better. Yeah, makes more sense.
It's like, don't tell anyone about this. This is amazing future technology, but just plug this end into.
Call me when you need me, Winston.
Yeah. Which you think Winston would have done in like May 1940 when shit was really going down. Maybe the Doctor could have been called in right then. When is the Victory of the Daleks set?
That's a good question.
Later on.
I think it is a little later. I think it's a little later. Like 41, 42, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you'd think Churchill would be like, Doctor, Britain's about to be invaded, literally, by literal Nazis. Maybe help them. So it kind of stopped me in a number of ways, but I like it that it's Doctor Who showing off what it can do.
Right, exactly. It's kind of showing off and telling you, strap in, this is going to be fun. That's kind of the sense you get from it.
And it's the new series formula, right? First episode, reintroduce show. Second episode, go to the far future. Third episode, go to history.
Yeah.
Daleks
optional.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of optional Daleks, it may be time. Is it time?
It is time for the 4 questions to Doomsday. All right.
Goes the dynamite. Yes.
First question. Why did the randomizer take us here? I think we've kind of already answered this, but...
Well, there were actually a lot of... So, as I said at the top of the show, 3 stories in a row where a companion has to stop the Doctor destroying the, quote, last... Right. Unquote, last as far as we know of a species, which is kind of weird and wild in itself. There's a direct connection to Dalek in that both of these creatures are tortured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
The Dalek and the whale. And there's a direct connection, it's sort of indirect connection to Dalek in that Amy almost suffers the fate of Adam of being expelled from the TARDIS.
Although that
on
happens later in the long game.
It does happen in the long game, but it's kind of set up by the events of Dalek, right? So
Totally.
Amy, this is her first trip in the TARDIS, and the Doctor is almost gonna drop her off. But also, like, we've been exploring in a lot of these, the recent companion loss that happens in the Runaway Bride, where Rose is still fresh in the Doctor's mind. It happens in Time Flight, where Adric's death is still fresh. And here, like the Doctor's last companion, we forget is Donna.
Right.
Speaking of forgetting, speaking of mashing that forget button, that's what Donna had to do. So it's interesting. It's not mentioned here, but the Doctor has been traveling around for some time, companionless. For at least a couple of specials.
It's true. It's implied perhaps a lot longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Amy is sort of subject to these rules that she doesn't know about, and it's kind of little Donna based PTSD perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a more meta explanation for the randomizer here. Now, do you remember my challenge last time?
I don't. Remind me.
Yeah, I basically challenged the randomizer after we concluded that Dalek is the best Dalek episode. Please, randomizer, take us to the worst Dalek episode. There is sort of technically a Dalek. I mean, you don't see it, but it's in this. There's the silhouette of the Dalek, the shadow. Maybe this is the randomizer thinks this is the worst Dalek episode of Doctor Who.
I hear you, randomizer, and also it's the randomizer kind of throwing pie in my face, because I said during Dalek, like, maybe there's a formula of the fewer Daleks in an episode, the better. Genesis of the Daleks has 3. By the way, Pull to Open listeners who are paying attention may notice that in last week's Dalek episode we said, have we ever been to a story with Dalek in the title before?
Yeah, I felt that
and
about
we said
too.
No.
Well, we mentioned Power of the Daleks. We did. We did say
we mentioned Power of the Daleks. We did say that at the time, and then later in the episode, we're like, "Remember when we went to Genesis of the Daleks?"
Yeah, we only went to the most epic one of the classic series.
Only Genesis, that bloody Daleks. So I think it's refuting my theory of fewer Daleks is better.
Yeah, because 0 Daleks. Would you call this 0 or like 0.1?
It's the shadow of the Dalek appearing at it. Like, if the randomizer counts this as a Dalek episode with a single Dalek in it, then no, that is not a cast iron theory. Screw you, Chris, says the randomizer.
Found the hole. Okay,
but also before we get off the subject, like the randomizer definitely likes Queen Elizabeth's.
True. Yeah. Day of the Doctor.
We've had Day of the Doctor, the Idiot's Lantern. For Liz 2, so why not Liz 10? And I'm wondering here, like, we've got to start kind of saying what we've collected in our random journey so far, and we've nearly got a bingo on Queen Elizabeth's, haven't we? Like, what else do we need? We need Silver Nemesis.
So definitely need Silver Nemesis. Yeah,
and we need Shakespeare Code.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Do we need anything else? Like, not counting just mentions.
Right.
No,
I don't think so. I think that does it.
Oh, unless because Liz 10 does come back in. What did she come back in? Pandorica. Yeah. So technically, we'll have to visit that too. But we're close to a bingo on Queen Elizabeth's and Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you take a Cleopatra though?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Was it that dinosaurs on a spaceship, right?
Oh, God.
Right. So, yeah.
Don't remind me.
All right, moving on.
Take us there next. Yes. Okay.
Next question to Doomsday. What if the evil plot had succeeded?
So all I got for this is that the evil plot is on the part of the British people who continually decide to torch a poor space whale, despite it continually saying the space whale equivalent of dudes, WTF, I'm trying to help out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's the evil plot, and it just keeps going as before.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the evil plot's kind of the Doctor's, right? Because if you lobotomize the star whale, it becomes a darker future for him and
Yeah.
Consequently the universe. So, you presume he either broods or gives up his travels. Like, you remember in sort of later Matt Smith, he sort of broods in the
Yeah.
clouds for a while
Yeah.
the Paternoster gang sort of looks out for him. Maybe that happens sooner than later. Certainly, he's going to bring
Maybe.
Amy back. He ends up
Mhm.
never traveling with Amy and Rory. It just becomes maybe even something like the War Doctor again.
Yeah. You got to wonder: is this would that make it a turn left scenario where, like, Amy and Rory have saved the Doctor's life in multiple ways, many times?
Yeah.
Does the Doctor die now without regenerating because Amy and Rory went there? That could be interesting. But also, I like the War Doctor idea. I like the idea that the Doctor lobotomizes the whale and he sort of sighs and hangs his head, goes back to the TARDIS, puts on a leather jacket.
Right.
goes back to the shack
Takes
on
off that bow tie.
Gallifrey.
That bow tie's gone.
Yeah, got it. And he just from being young Matt Smith with so much happiness and optimistic potential, he's just like now old Matt Smith in a shack in a leather jacket.
Yeah. Oh, can't have that. Oh,
Dark.
That's a pretty bad evil plot.
Yeah, is that the first time that the evil plot has been the Doctor's?
Good question. I don't.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I don't remember that happening in our certainly in our Pull to Open adventures so far. That's kind of interesting.
Anyway, I don't want to think about not having that run of Matt Smith, him bounding around the screen, being happy, and being a great hero / savior figure for the kids.
Yeah.
So,
we wouldn't get the rest of season 5. It was such a great season.
Totally. All right. Moving on. Question 3. Where is the Clara Splinter here?
Yes, the Clara Splinter in Name of the Doctor jumps into the Doctor's timeline. I'm going to propose 2 options. She's either in just outside the voting booth helping Amy record a message on the voting booth screen.
Yeah, that's never
explained. Because that's
either.
not explained. I was so thrown by that. Like, I couldn't remember how it happened, and like Amy. But also, I'm like, is this a Moffat thing where he's building in a thing from a future episode with Amy, like, leaving this message?
How often have you gone into a voting booth, by the way, and it goes like, if you'd like to leave a note for the next person, do so here. Like, how does that even, what? How does that equipment even exist?
I love it. I mean, people, it's going to be post midterms after this, but, maybe I wish we could bring this out right before the midterms to persuade folks to A, please vote. B, just leave a post-it note on the voting machine and just write on that post-it note, tag you're it.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
But yeah, my other alternative is that the Clara Splinter, actually, because it takes place after the events of this episode, in the Doctor's chronology, she's actually able to step into the Doctor's timeline, go to Starship UK in the early days, tell them that they're torturing a space whale that they'll just do their bidding anyway. And this whole story is actually retconned and paradoxed out of existence.
Oh, wow.
It's just the Amy's first adventure is actually Victory of the Daleks.
That's now that's fan service.
That's what I call fan service.
Yeah,
yes,
I like that.
I've just retconned the Beast Below out of existence, people. You're welcome.
Totally. The best I could come up with was that to make the story work at least a little bit better, I think there needs to be some kind of memory Gestapo here in this police state, which, by the way, I think is just kind of a good idea from a sci-fi standpoint, the memory police. And she's either a member or in charge of it, and she's basically wandering around making sure people don't keep records of the Queen's reign and wiping the memories of select people to ensure that the Queen never learns that she's actually been Queen for 300 years. So,
wow, that is dark Clara right there.
Yeah, right? Still, I can picture her doing that, can't you? I mean, you think about her in Zygon form, and how badass she gets. Like, think of a variation of that, sort of doing the same thing, and like a long dark coat, symbols on her arm. Maybe it's just It's like
It
a
does.
brain with the poopy, the farting emoji, or like.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess it does come down to the question: to what is Clara Splint actually doing? Is she
Right.
just propping up plot holes? In which case, Dark Clara, or is she protecting the Doctor? In which case, just retcon this whole damn thing, please.
Yeah. I like your version better. I'm pasting
All
over plot
right.
holes that probably don't need it. All right, the final question, the only question, the question that matters to all. What do we ultimately think of this episode? In our rating system, it can be either a Dalek, which is a good episode, an Ogron, which is perhaps a not so good episode, a Professor Hater, where it's a bad episode, but at least we learned something,
Yeah.
or is it a Viscount banger, the rating we reserve for the best episodes ever? I think I can rule one of these out immediately.
Yeah, sorry, Viscount. I was going to get all sort of meta and clever and say something like, well, as you know, Pete, every 5 years, Doctor Who fans are required to rewatch The Beast Below, and then we vote on whether we protest it or forget it.
I'm overdue.
And we always vote to forget. Always vote to forget that we watched it. But no, let's stick to our actual rating system, even though I am mashing that forget button as hard as I can. At first, I was thinking, it's an Ogron. It's a confused Ogron. It's an Ogron who's just come out of the voting booth and be like, what was I doing for the last 20 minutes? But no, I think because this is the first episode of New Who that we've come to that was not improved on a rewatch, at least for me, then I think that deserves a special commendation. I think the commendation has to come from the Queen herself. So imagine before you Professor Hater on one knee, and the Queen taps each of his shoulders with a sword. Arise, Sir Professor Hater of Starship UK.
Oh, wow. Your first hater since Time Flight.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think I could use the hater because I feel like we did learn a lot. Like we're not saying it's like, oh, we hate it so much. It's like, no, we learned both in show, right? The Doctor's timeline, a little more Day of the Doctor, kind of revelations coming early, nice stuff like that. We've not mentioned the crack in space that briefly appears, the crack in space and time, has a brief appearance at the end of the episode. So it legitimizes itself as part of that arc. So I learned it. Like it's not 50 minutes. I'll never get back again. It's And I feel like the metaphor is there. It's it is sort of Moffat predicting Brexit-ish,
right?
So it deserves a place in Who history for that. So I like that the Professor Hater is something that we venerate for his good sides.
All right. I'm going to go a little more traditional. So as I said, I watched this with my kids. They both liked it. I think it is an episode that does work if you're a kid. I think it actually is a Dalek if you're a kid. But you know how kids are short?
Yeah.
And that if you were standing close enough to an Ogron that was hiding behind a Dalek, you might just see the Dalek if you're pretty short. You wouldn't see the Ogron. But if you're an adult, you're a little bigger, and you're like, hold on, actually, that's just an empty Dalek shell, and it's just an Ogron hiding behind it. So that's ultimately my rating. It is an Ogron at the end of the day. As much as I think if you have kids, this is a pretty good episode to watch with them because they'll be on the edge of their seat because of how the Doctor interacts with the kids in the episode, as well as sort of the creepy smiley things, which are creepy, but not too creepy. So got to give it points.
It's definitely grist for my theory that I've sort of been developing as Pull to Open goes on, that a vast chunk of Doctor Who is best viewed conceptually as kind of a fever dream.
Yeah,
just
totally.
Kind of does have that feel, right? With the, not a lot of it makes sense, but the villains are scary. That's kind of that's very, very I'm in a fever dreamish. And this had a lot of that feel to it. It's especially with the Smilers. So we don't like to hate too much on Pull to Open. I think definitely this is a good one to show to the kids.
Yeah,
if that's your purpose.
All right, that is bringing us to the end of our commentary on The Beast Below, and it's time to get on the back of our own space whale to ride back to our TARDIS, activate a
Yes.
randomizer, and find out where we're going next. So,
yeah, but first let's go below decks for a quick tour of the randomizer. It is divided into two components. Wait, what's this? The components aren't connected? This box is just two wires and they're empty? What? Where's the engineer on this thing? No, Pete, what's your component?
My component is the Pull to Open Codex, which is a spreadsheet, of course, of every single televised episode of Doctor Who, organized into 302 stories. And you might remember from last time, listener, where we mistakenly might have called out the wrong number in the wrong episode title before we corrected ourselves. We're going, I have upgraded the codex so that will not happen again. Looked up how to freeze rows and columns in Google Docs. And so now the episode number per the codex will always be visible no matter how far I scroll horizontally. So boom.
Nice. I like to imagine you there, Pete, with the spreadsheet and a Sonic. Just like, there we go, fixed it. Great. And my component of the randomizer is random.org, which is a website that generates random numbers, truly random numbers, not algorithmic random numbers. Yep, you got your Sonic there. I love it. Yeah, that's how we should do the countdown
just
now.
Imagine.
So computers normally are pseudo-random algorithms, just sort of guess at a random number. Random.org uses atmospheric noise, which is totally what the Doctor would do, to generate a random number. So I am standing here at the controls of random.org with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 302 in the random number generator. We have upgraded Codex 2.0 that Pete has sonicked, and we like to issue challenges to the randomizer. I'm going to say that we're on a run here. We're on a run with the Doctor almost committing genocide.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
3 stories of the Doctor. Like, let's make it 4. Let's see how long we can keep this streak. So randomizer, please take us to another story where the Doctor almost kills the last of a race.
I like that. Yeah. More genocide.
If indeed there are any more.
I'm sure there are more. Yes. we started inventorying them last time, and we actually did we cut a video of that part of the commentary, and there have been someone commented that there is a spreadsheet out there somewhere where his genocides are inventoried, and it's quite a few. So
we've linked Doctor Who fandom and spreadsheets before so many times on this podcast. I love all my fellow spreadsheet using fans.
Yeah, stay tuned for the spreadsheet episode. We'll have a lot of very Googleable tips, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to stay with the idea of sci-fi tropes, and I want Randomizer you to bring us to something that is very, very tropey. In fact, the tropiest of tropes. That Doctor Who pulls out something. I don't know what it is. Honestly, I'd like the randomizer to decide. It could be. Tell you what,
base Under Siege. Got to be a base Under Siege,
or just big beasts. Because we had a space whale. Let's do maybe perhaps the power of Kroll. Perhaps the sun creature from 42 or whatever else. Give me something.
Pete, I fear you may have doomed us to dinosaurs on a spaceship, which
we've
already brought up on this podcast.
Yeah, gigantic beast. Give it to us. Yeah, forget that it could be a trope.
We're going to have to.
Yeah.
Guess we're going to have to go to dinosaurs on a spaceship sooner or later, so might as well get it out of the way. All right, I'm down with that. But yeah, I'm going with Get Genocide. You're going with Big Beast. So let's see. All right, give me
the countdown. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Affirmative.
9.
9? No.
Yes.
It responded to me, my man. It's Planet of Giants.
What?
Are you ready for this? Those are some big beasts, those humans.
Well played, randomizer. Well played.
Well played.
Yes, I love it. Wow.
Nailed it, though.
Is this our earliest? Was the Sensorites earlier?
Sensorites was earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. This is
our second earliest.
This is the first story of a season 2 of Doctor Who. Yeah, they opened with Planet of Giants. You needed a little appetizer before Dalek Invasion of Earth.
I believe that I just read in Doctor Who Magazine's special on the BBC that it was supposed to be an unearthly child was almost, instead of going to cavemen, it would go to what became Planet of the Giants.
Yeah. I remember seeing this. This is a short one too. It's got it's only 2 episodes, and it's one of these things where it's a very simple idea. And a lot of stuff happens within that idea, as I recall. I haven't seen it in decades, though. This is going to be a great one to revisit.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, thank you for venturing below with us to check out some beasts here in our commentary on The Beast Below. Hey, guys, you're listening to Pull to Open. It's a podcast. Podcast loves subscribers and reviews. Do those things wherever you're listening to us, whether it's your podcast app, YouTube, or something else. Maybe it's a radio program. I don't know.
What?
Or a web embed.
If you're listening to this and your name is Winston Churchill, it's being broadcast back through time on your crystal set.
Or forward in time. It could be centuries in the future, and you're finally your warp speed ship. The broadcast is finally caught up with it. Subscribe. Do it.
It's never too late.
Leave a review.
The best time to subscribe was 300 years ago. The second best time is now.
Follow us on social, Twitter and Instagram, Pull to Open 63, TikTok, Pull to Open. Thanks to Martin West and Thinking Fish for our music that you might be hearing in the background here and there. And tell us what you think of the podcast wherever you encounter us. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you for joining us, this beast of a podcast. We will see you next time.
Take care.